A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannaika. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
India-China relations rekindled. Plans underway to restart direct flights between the two countries. Former Presidential Secretary Saman Ekanayake summoned to the CID tomorrow. Organized criminals including Kehel Badar Padme detained for 72 hours for questioning. Investigation launched into a fake photograph of the Minister of Public Security circulating on social media. Excise officers who took bribes in Jaffna remanded.
Now the stories in detail. Chinese President Xi Jinping told the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi that India and China should approach their relations from a strategic and long-term perspective during their talks today. The talks between the two leaders were held on the margins of the annual summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization being held in Tianjin, China today and tomorrow.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping held bilateral talks and reaffirmed that the two neighbor states were quote-unquote development partners and not rivals. During the bilateral meeting of the two leaders on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in China's Tianjin. In an official statement on the meeting, the Ministry of External Affairs of India said the two leaders welcomed the positive momentum and steady progress in bilateral relations since their last meeting in Russian Kazan in October 2024. They reaffirmed that the differences between India and China should not turn into a dispute. The statement by the Ministry of External Affairs of India read, quote, "A stable relationship and cooperation between India and China and their 2.8 billion people on the basis of mutual respect, mutual interest and mutual sensitivity are necessary for the growth and development of the two countries as well as for a multipolar world and a multipolar Asia, befitting the trends of the 21st century." Unquote. According to the Indian Prime Minister, direct flights between both nations, which have been suspended since 2020, are being resumed without providing a time frame. Meanwhile, noting that this year marks the 75th anniversary of the establishment of China-India diplomatic relations, Chinese President Xi Jinping said the two countries need to view and handle bilateral ties from a strategic and long-term perspective. Chinese President Xi Jinping added that as long as the two countries stick to this overarching direction, China-India relations can sustain steady and long-term growth. He called on the two countries to strengthen strategic communication to deepen mutual trust, expand exchanges and win-win cooperation, heed each other's concerns and seek harmonious coexistence and enhance multilateral collaboration to safeguard common interests. Xi added that the two Asian neighbors should work together to ensure peace and tranquility in their border regions and should not let the border issue define the overall China-India relations. Modi is in China for the first time in 7 years to attend the SCO summit, along with Russian President Vladimir Putin and leaders from Central, South, Southeast Asia and the Middle East in a show of global South solidarity. The bilateral meeting took place 5 days after Washington imposed punishing 50% tariffs on Indian goods due to New Delhi's purchase of Russian oil. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to attend the BRICS summit that India will host in 2026. President Xi thanked Prime Minister Modi for the invitation and expressed China's support for India's BRICS presidency. The SCO comprises of China, India, Russia, Pakistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Belarus, with 16 more countries affiliated as observers or dialogue partners. On Saturday, Chinese President Xi Jinping began receiving foreign leaders, including UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the Egyptian Prime Minister. According to Chinese state media, the summit is described as the quote-unquote largest ever SCO summit. Beijing sees the forum as an alternative to the Western-led global order. Attending the summit, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged support for multilateralism, calling China a fundamental pillar of the system. Vladimir Putin is expected to meet Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to discuss the Ukraine conflict, while also holding talks with his Iranian counterpart Masoud Pezeshkian on Iran's nuclear program.
Former Secretary to the President Saman Ekanayake has been summoned to the Criminal Investigation Department.
According to police, former Secretary to the President Saman Ekanayake has been summoned to appear before the Criminal Investigation Department tomorrow morning. The summons is in connection with the investigation into former President Ranil Wickremesinghe over allegations of misusing 16.6 million rupees of public funds for a private overseas trip. Ekanayake had previously provided a 6-hour statement to the CID on the 5th of August. Sandra Pereira, a former private secretary to former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, also provided a statement exceeding 6 hours on the 4th of August as part of the ongoing investigation.
Reports indicate that UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe is preparing to restore the party membership of those who had their membership suspended for leaving the UNP to form the Samaki Jana Balawegya. Now, this is part of a move to bring them back into the UNP. Meanwhile, a debate has emerged regarding the leadership of this new alliance. Some SJB MPs argue that Ranil Wickremesinghe should not be the leader due to his declining health. Others state that there is still no agreement on the leadership issue.
Several parties, including the Samagi Jana Balawegya, United National Party, Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, recently formed a joint alliance to call for the release of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe. This follows his remand on charges of misusing 16.6 million rupees in public funds for a private tour in England. Following these events, the Sunday Times reported today on a potential readiness for the SJB and the UNP to reunite. The report stated that there is a plan to reinstate the party membership of those, including Sajith Premadasa, who had their memberships suspended from the UNP. The newspaper also stated that Sajith Premadasa has been invited to the UNP convention scheduled for the 6th of September. This information was reported with quotes attributed to Ranil Wickremesinghe after his release on bail. Meanwhile, SJB parliamentarian for the Anuradhapura district, Rohana Bandara, believes that due to Ranil Wickremesinghe's weak health, Sajith Premadasa should be the leader of any new political alliance.
One way or another, Ranil Wickremesinghe became the president of this country. He became the executive president. Now, his health condition has been exposed to the media. I think as a senior and the leader of the United National Party, the best thing for him to do is to give the young leadership that the people are asking to Sajith Premadasa, who has the majority support from the UNP. If he can do that and take a senior leadership role, or even become the Prime Minister in the future, I believe these two parties can reunite and revive the party to rebuild this country.
However, SJB parliamentarian Harshana Rajakarna stated that there are no issues regarding the leadership of the alliance.
වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිත් එක්ක එකට එකතු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. සියලුම බලවේග අපි එකතු කරගන්නවා. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය සහ සමගි පෙරමුණ එකතු වීමේ ලොකු ප්‍රවණතාවයක් තියෙනවා. පැහැදිලිවම. ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ මේ එවැනි එකතු වීමක් වුණොත් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයාද මේ පක්ෂයේ නායකත්වයේ ගන්නේ කවුද නායකත්වයට මේ වෙනකොට සුදුසුකම් තියෙන්නේ? සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා තමයි විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා. හදිසියේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා මේ පක්ෂයේ මේ විපක්ෂ කණ්ඩායමේ නායකත්වයේ ඉල්ලුවොත් එහෙම කොහොමද සාරවි ජන බලවේගයේ තියෙන තත්ත්වය? නෑ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මැතිතුමායි සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමායි මේ සියලු දෙනා එකතු වෙලා මේවා සාකච්ඡා කරලා අපිට විසඳ ගන්න පුළුවන්.
A strong opposition is essential for a healthy democracy in any country. But what is happening today? Do you remember? At the time, the UNP made serious allegations of corruption and fraud against the Rajapaksa government. The public listened to those criticisms and in 2015 defeated the Rajapaksa government and established the government of good governance. But Within a short time, the goals of good governance collapsed with the central bank bond scam, in which the accusations were levelled at members of the UNP itself. So what happened? A majority of the UNP broke away. That is how the SJB was formed. At the next election, the UNP was reduced to zero. The SJB became the main opposition. When the government led by Gotabaya Rajapaksa completely disregarded the people's aspirations, the public came to the streets in a peaceful protest and ousted the Rajapaksa administration. But they still had parliamentary power. What happened next? An interim president was elected by the votes of the same government's MPs, whom the people had rejected. It is true that Ranil Wickremesinghe, who entered parliament through the national list, became president. But he became a puppet of the Rajapaksas because of how he was appointed. At that election, the main group that voted against him was the SJB. They said then that they would not join with thieves and the corrupt. The next presidential election was a three-way battle. Anura Kumara Dissanayake of the National People's Power was elected president, defeating both the SJB and the UNP. They won the subsequent general election with a landslide victory. The main slogan of both elections was to act against fraud and corruption. Now that accusations of corruption and fraud are being exposed one by one, all the people who were previously divided and accusing each other of corruption are starting to unite. This is the past. The SJB, which had severely criticized Ranil Wickremesinghe's leadership, repeatedly stated that they left the UNP due to serious corruption and fraud, including the central bank bond scam.
The Samagi Jana Balawegya will never unite with the bond thieves. The bond scam and corruption cost this country billions. If we had that money today, we could have donated a lot of life-saving medical equipment to our hospitals. We have no alliance or unity with political parties representing bond racketeers. As the leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegya, I state very clearly that there will be no unity with the bond thieves. Today some news headlines say that I, him and everyone else are discussing to unite. The reports say that Sajith, Ranil and Mahinda are all going to unite. This is a lie. We don't want to unite with anyone. The people are suffering on the ground. There is corruption and fraud everywhere. In a bankrupt country where people can't live, all these people do is exploit them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You know that Ranil Wickremesinghe has to work for the Kaputa. The Kaputa is the finance minister who robbed the country. Still the people have no relief. Amidst the people's tragedy, they are still stealing as much as they can.
On the 21st of August 2024, Talatha Korala, a former MP of the Samagi Jana Balawegya and General Secretary of the United National Party, resigned from her parliamentary seat and shared these views about the Samagi Jana Balawegya.
The accusation levelled against Ranil Wickremesinghe was that he lived with thieves. This has become a disaster for our SJB. Back then he was accused of protecting thieves and running a government with them. So what's happening now? The thieves and corrupt individuals who jumped off that sinking ship have now entered our party, the Samagi Jana Balawegya, without any shame. There's an even more serious side to this. The co-members who protected our party, the Samagi Jana Balawegya and its leader Sajith Premadasa, with blood, sweat and tears from the defeat in 2009 until now, are now disappointed and marginalized with the arrival of these thieves and corrupt individuals.
With Ranil Wickremesinghe being remanded on charges of using 16.6 million rupees in public funds for a private overseas tour, these politicians have once again started talking about a common alliance. But are they doing this for the people or for themselves. We are not afraid to say these things, as our forefathers have taught us never to be afraid to speak the truth.
රටට ආදරය කරන පිරිස් සහ රට විනාශ කරපු පිරිස් අතර බෙදීමක් නෙමෙයි තියෙන්නේ.
This is a clear division between those who love the country and those who have destroyed it. For years, these people have been wearing masks, but they have to dance in the open. We are witnessing the fact that these people are now coming together in a positive light. And in any future election, the people will show their disgust through the votes that they cast. These politicians put on one face to the lower class and another to voters, but they are truly united in spirit. Thieves, fraudsters and commission-hungry politicians are all part of this theme. Their reunion over such a minor issue only highlights their true nature.
සිද්ධිය තමයි විපක්ෂයට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca says that members of the opposition have united to cover up fraud and corruption.
There is a significant vacuum in politics. We see the opposition uniting, not for the people, but to revive old politics. After causing disruptions in the past, now, just as the country is moving in the right direction, they are trying to protect their own future. But the change we have started cannot be reversed. Now the opposition has come together to claim political revenge whenever a law is enforced against politicians. This isn't revenge. It's about addressing their wrongdoings. We simply want the law to be applied, which is exactly what hasn't happened in the country before. This country went through a massive political crisis. We saw all the major parties in the country being obliterated. Politicians who called themselves influential lost everything. Some of them are now appearing at Velikada. The people rejected these major political parties. They rejected them with disgust. The JVP and NPP government came together for change. What has now happened is that the opposition has united. If you switch on the news these days, you will see the opposition uniting outside courthouses and at Velikada to save themselves from going to prison. They are uniting to save themselves from the corruption allegations against them. That is the reason why they have united. I was lucky to have left the SJB by that time. When I look at the fate that has befallen the opposition and the things they are doing right now, I believe that some God above had saved me. I believe that it was such a deity that pulled me out of party politics. If not, I also would have had to go to courts and protest these days. I would have had to go and stand at places where these people were being taken in handcuffs. I would have had to give voice cuts on their behalf. Now I don't have to do anything like that. I am engaging in politics true to my heart, for the country, with the people. I spent 5 years doing politics in those places. Politics there is all fun. It is a means to earn money. They get together, eat and drink and party in the evening. They engage in some shady business behind closed doors and misuse state assets. There are those who are drunkards and rowdies as well. Their politics revolves around doing these kind of things. That is what I have learned in my 5 years of experience.
Organized criminals, including Kehelbattara Padme, who were arrested in Jakarta, Indonesia and brought back to Sri Lanka, have been detained for 72 hours for questioning. Police stated that during the interrogations of Thamili Lahiru and Bako Saman, who are in the custody of the Western Province North Crime Division, a number of important details have been revealed. Kehelbattara Padme, Commando Salita and Paranadura Nilanga are currently in custody of the Criminal Investigation Department. Police confirmed that the interrogation has already begun.
Organized criminals Kehelbattara Padme, Commando Salinda, Bako Saman, Paranadura Nilanga and Thamili Lahiru were arrested last Thursday in Jakarta, Indonesia. The operation was carried out jointly by the Sri Lanka Police and Indonesian Police and Interpol. A special team from Sri Lanka Police departed from the island for Indonesia yesterday to bring the suspects back to the country. The organized criminals arrived in Sri Lanka from Jakarta at approximately 7:20 p.m. local time on a Sri Lankan Airlines flight. Several Sri Lankan and Indonesian police officers involved in the operation also accompanied the suspects back to Sri Lanka. Several officials, including Minister of Public Security Anand Vijaypala and Inspector General of Police Attorney Priyantha Veerasurya, were present at the airport during their arrival. The Indonesian and Sri Lankan police officers who contributed to the arrest and safe return of the organized criminals were formally recognized for their efforts at the airport premises. The organized criminals brought back to the country were escorted out of the Bandaranayake International Airport in Katunayake under tight security. Kehel Badara Padme, Commando Salinta and Panadure Nilanga were directly brought to the Criminal Investigations Department. Tambili Lahiru and Bakho Saman were brought to the Western Province North Crime Division.
An investigation has been launched into the circulation of a fake photograph on social media allegedly depicting Public Security Minister Ananda Vijaypala.
The Ministry of Public Security stated that an image circulating online allegedly depicting Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala and claiming to have been taken at the airport when the criminals including Kehel Badara Padme were brought back to the country is fake. The ministry strongly rejected the misinformation and confirmed that legal action will be taken against those who published it. The Ministry of Public Security urged all parties to share only accurate and truthful information, especially against a backdrop where there are ongoing special operations against organized criminals and drug trafficking in the country.
News First with the people.
News First, main sponsor.
A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability. A trusted place for your fixed deposits. Valuable FD, 10.25% for 15 months, 11% for 24 months. Valuable FD, the symbol of stability.
One person was shot dead in Vednapur this morning. Another person who was injured in the incident was admitted to the Maravilla Base Hospital.
The shooting took place at around 10:30 am today, and a video of the incident captured at the scene has circulated on social media. Two men who had visited the Vednapur police station to sign a bail order at the High Court were returning when the attack took place. According to police, the two men were riding a motorcycle when a group who arrived from a car attacked them with a sword and opened fire. One of the victims, a 36-year-old, was killed while the other was injured and admitted to the Maravilla Base Hospital. A suspect connected to the shooting was arrested, and the vehicle and firearm used by the suspect were taken into police custody.
Three excise officials were arrested for attempting to solicit a bribe to release a suspect. The arrests were made during an operation conducted by the Northern Provincial Crime Division in Chandkani, Jaffna.
The officers had demanded a bribe of 2 million rupees from the family of a youth arrested for the possession of drugs in exchange for his release. The suspects were arrested following a complaint filed by the youth's family. The arrested excise officers were produced before the Mallagam court, after which they were remanded until the 12th of September.
A seminar on healthcare worker migration organized by the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Colombo held a seminar on healthcare worker migration today in Colombo, focusing on building a sustainable workforce.
A policy dialogue seminar on migration of healthcare professionals 2025 titled Bridging Research and Policy for a Sustainable Healthcare Workforce, organized by the Faculty of Nursing at the University of Colombo, was held today. The seminar brought together policymakers, academics and healthcare professionals to discuss strategies to retain Sri Lanka's skilled health workforce.
Sri Lanka health system, a source of national pride, is under strain, but there is no reported evidence correctly as mentioned, because there are no recorded evidence regarding this nurses migration especially. Nurses and other healthcare professionals feel in their bones stagnant salaries, limited opportunities for specialization and advancement. Not only that, a delayed daily workload and stretches human capacity. The result is predictable. Talented professionals are leaving. There are no fully guided guideline for these ergonomic challenges and all the things. The result is predictable. Talented professionals are leaving. Right now, Sri Lanka's nurses migration is often a leak. Professional leave without structure for return and also contribution or replacement. The hard facts here is that Sri Lanka's density of nurses and midwives is about 2.4 per 1,000. This is well below that many upper and middle income countries' healthcare systems. Sri Lankan health professionals excel globally. When they go to any other country, they are performing very well. They are very popular in international healthcare systems. They earn advanced credentials, master new technologies, and thrive in research, leadership, and especially roles in the other countries. What if we turn migration from a leak into a loop? That is why we are here today. From a one-way exit into two-way circulation, as our Vice Chancellor mentioned, where knowledge, mentoring, investment, and service flow back to Sri Lanka predictably and fairly. We can do if you plan.
This approach has to be multidisciplinary and multi-pronged approach. There need to be educational interventions, providing high quality education. There need to be regulatory interventions, for example, like having bonds, regulations, so on and so forth. Secondly. And thirdly, there need to be professional level interventions. For example, providing opportunities for professional development, continuous professional development. And finally, there need to be personal level incentives, like the facilities for schooling, transport, quarters, so on and so forth.
The seminar emphasized that bridging research with policy is key to creating a sustainable healthcare workforce. Experts stressed the importance of evidence-based strategies, collaborative policy making, and providing holistic support to healthcare professionals to stem the ongoing migration trend.
The Colombo Friend in Need Society successfully hosted the 32nd edition of its annual AIDEX Sports Meet today.
AIDEX 2025, the annual meet organized by the Colombo Friend in Need Society, hosted its 32nd edition in Colombo today. Over 350 participants participated in over 70 events, including all the track and field events, archery, cycling, cricket, wheelchair races and other activities for the children. A key highlight of the event was that while the youngest participant of the meet was only 3 years old, the oldest was 86 years old. The Colombo Friend in Need Society continues to support amputees across Sri Lanka by providing artificial prosthetic limbs completely free of charge.
Moving on to sports news now. Sri Lanka won the ODI series against Zimbabwe in their tour of Zimbabwe. Sri Lanka secured a clean sweep in the ODI series with today's victory over Zimbabwe in Harare. Sri Lanka chased down the target of 278 set by Zimbabwe in 49.3 overs for the loss of just 5 wickets. Pathum Nissanka also scored his 7th ODI century.
121. This would be the 22nd, lost only 3. And there it is. Kamindu Mendes just works it onto the leg side. Sri Lanka get home. A very well managed chase. And the captain with a half century, making sure.
Yeah, the margin here is by 5 wickets, and that's good to see some brilliant batting.
Sri Lanka, having won the toss, opted to field first. Batting first, Zimbabwe lost their first wicket at 55 runs. The second wicket partnership between Ben Curran and Brendan Taylor added 61 runs.
The face of the bat a little early.
Ben Curran scored 79, while Sikandar Raza contributed an unbeaten 59.
Oh, it's the outside edge. I think that's genuine.
Dushmantha Chamira took 3 wickets and Asitha Fernando claimed 2. At the end of their allotted 50 overs, Zimbabwe were 277 runs for the loss of 7 wickets. Sri Lanka began their chase with Pathum Nissanka and Nuwanidhu Fernando opening the innings. The first wicket partnership produced 48 runs before Nuwanidhu Fernando was dismissed for 14.
And Nuwanidhu Fernando had no clue.
Pathum Nissanka went on to score his 7th ODI century.
I love the way that how he kept himself composed. He knew that the job is about taking the side home and he has to bat right till the end.
The team from Sri Lanka that put on a strong performance at the 2025 Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships in India and bagged several medals returned to the island today.
Sri Lankan team that won 14 medals at the 2025 Commonwealth Weightlifting Championships returned to the island today. Nearly 600 athletes from 31 countries participated in the championship hosted by India. The Sri Lankan team were able to win 6 silver medals and 8 bronze medals, bringing the total number of medals won to 14. Officials of the Sri Lanka Weightlifting Federation and well-wishers were among those who were present to welcome them.
The 12th edition of the Sirasa TV Magic Ice Cream Carnival concluded today in Hinguragoda.
The 12th edition of the Sirasa Ice Cream Carnival kicked off yesterday at the Dudley Senanayaka grounds in Hinguragoda, offering visitors 2 days of fun games, prize giveaways, Iceland attractions, magic shows and merry-go-rounds. Last night, popular singers performed to the music of Kurunegala Baji, while tonight the band Arrowstar took the stage. Today, renowned artists including Sandun Pereira, Nadini Premadasa, Rukman Asita, Robbie J, Susil Fernando and Sudat Navalage entertained the crowd. The carnival concluded today, leaving attendees with hopes of a similar experience in the near future.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.